you'll benefit from.
I call Clayton Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's I wouldn't say a great pleasure to stand and have an urgent debate on this particular matter, but I think it's a very urgent matter and one worth raising. And as we look around the House and we hear the comments that are made right around the House by all parties, this is of serious concern and a serious nature. And I guess where the last speaker finished off is where I'm going to start off. And the reports around the globe and from the OECD has New Zealand as one of the least corrupt countries in the planet, in the world. And the reality is, I think we have got a sinister background because this is not an isolated incident. And nobody in their right mind could condone the actions of Joanne Harrison, how she's behaved, what she's done, and how she's even been enabled to get away with what she's been doing for such a long time. Now she's sitting in jail for 3 years and 7 months, and I hope she actually serves those 3 years and 7 months to show some sort of remorse from the actions that she's taken. And it's been self-indulged, looking after her own interests at the behest and at the disadvantage of staff and the reputations of the public sector. But it goes further than just the public sector, although this incident does directly relate to the way that staff members and the people from inside that public sector have been treated. And when they have seen an injustice taking place, an advantage given to a person by devious means, and a disadvantage given to others that are standing against this sort of, I'll use the word tyranny, but maybe that's not quite the right word, it's cost them their livelihood, it's cost them their reputations, and it has been a huge dirty smudge, a stain on their CV, despite standing up proudly for what they believe is the right thing to be doing, to point the bone at somebody that has been defrauding the public purse and lost their jobs. And despite what the report has come out and said that an apology is required and compensation needs to be given to these people, they will always be the ones who have suffered the most because they have done the right thing and there was no protection there for them. There was nowhere where they could go. And Joanne Harrison, who now is in jail for her actions, and other people that were involved in their inaction, moving up the ladder, if you like. And we have seen recently Martin Matthews, who has been given the auspicious title of Auditor General, who is now currently standing down, who was privy to this information from these people coming forward and chose to do nothing. In fact, tried to move her around into other positions where she may be better suited, and ultimately she, over this over 3 year period that she was defrauding the system, actually moved up the chain despite people saying there's something wrong here, this is not right, look into it. It was overlooked. So where does the buck actually lie? Where do we actually finally say procedures weren't followed? I'm getting to that. Procedures were not followed and processes were not followed either. And ultimately, the minister has to take responsibility for that. That's the job of the minister. The buck stops at the top. Martin Matthews certainly does need to take a big proportion of responsibility on that. Ultimately, the responsibility will lie with Joanne, but it needs to go to the top. Why were these processes and the procedures not followed? How did it get to a point that over a 3 year period this was going on under the very noses, and we've got to a situation where over $725,000 was taken away from hard-working New Zealanders, and I'm talking about the tax that they've paid to go into the Ministry of Transport to get better infrastructure for their own personal greed. Now, ultimately, I'd like to hear from the minister to say why he allowed this to go on. He must have surely been aware of the situation, and if he's not, then why wasn't he made aware of it? There's got to be some level of ownership from the minister, and anything less than that, well, then that minister's got to have their head buried in the sand. Yep. Mr Speaker, the reality is that the Chief Ombudsman, Peter Bashir, has said that there is insufficient protection for whistleblowers. And even the term whistleblowers has a connotation that I think general public can even go, well, that's not a good term. At school, if you ever told on somebody for doing something, you're a whistleblower, it's negative. But we've got to turn that negativity into positivity, because it's standing up for justice. It's actually standing up to look out for your peers. It's actually when you've got a society where we are wanting to be the most uncorruptible society in the world, you've actually got to have everybody looking out for everybody else. And if we have a breakdown of that, if people get silenced, if they get pushed aside, if they get too afraid to speak about the truth of what's going on, then you're going to see corruption very, very quickly entering into this beautiful country of ours. And I'm suggesting, sir, this is not an isolated incident. I'm suggesting that this sort of thing has been going on, and there is a culture of bullying going on in workplaces to silence this sort of behaviour up. This honest integrity that people have to do the right thing and to say the right thing, they've been silenced. We need legislation to empower these people to feel that they can comfortably speak up and not be chastised, castigated and cast out like these people have that we're dealing with here today. Mr. Speaker, the private sector is obviously another area that this goes on in, and coming from the private sector and running businesses and my own businesses for over 25 years, sir, I heroed those staff members that came to me with problems that were happening within my organisation, and I held those people in high regard because it was the information that they gave me quietly and in secret that enabled me to find and charge those staff members that were being dishonest, that were ripping my business and myself off. So we need to take that sort of approach where staff and people can approach their bosses, their NGOs, leaders, their CEOs at any time to say, I have some serious concern, this is what I've seen, this is what's going on. And if we've taken that away, which is exactly what we've seen happen here with these people, then we're going to see some serious, serious problems in this country moving forward. So I'd like to see some urgent attention, some legislation brought in to tighten up this, to give some security for those people that are doing the right thing. An apology? Great. It's a little bit too late. Compensation? Absolutely, it's essential. But they shouldn't have to have ever got to the situation where compensation is required. They should be put on a pedestal and looked after within the organisation that they have been working loyally in. So, Mr. Speaker, New Zealand First does support the urgentness of this debate. Thanks the member for bringing it to the House to be discussed, and we would certainly be very supportive to see some changes made by government, despite there being only 1 month to go. Maybe we could prioritise something in this area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
To take a call on this and discuss